What's going on, people? We'll talk about Rikers Island. Um, you know, a lot of people, a lot of young people who come from the ghetto, who come from the hood, who come from marginalized communities, um, who are part of dysfunctional homes and families and things of that nature. Broken situations, disruptive environments, riddled with crime, poverty, drugs, all types of social ills. They look for a way out. They look for a way to survive, right? This is known, but this message is for the youth. Committing crimes, committing criminal activity, only can land you in a hospital, 6 feet under the ground, or could leave you in an urn if your families can't afford to bury you, or it can leave you behind bars like Rikers Island in New York City. It's sad to see the cycle perpetuate itself over and over and over again. It's an atrocity. It's unconscionable to watch young people who have potential to succeed, to accomplish so many great things, fall victim to the streets, throwing their freedom away, ridding themselves of the opportunities to do well. When you keep your eyes glued to devices like smartphones, and then you're plugging yourself into social media, and all you see are images of people who look like yourself. I'm talking to the youth now, who are in, for example, the entertainment industry, fooling around and carrying on. And for the young people who want to honor that, the young people who want to look up to these so-called role models who are misguiding the youth and allowing the youth to really believe that behaving like a cretin, behaving like a hooligan, behaving like such as a subhuman, committing violence upon others, senseless violence upon others is cool. Selling drugs to your families, to your communities, to your parents, to your friends, to your relatives is cool. Committing crimes is cool for the sake of making money to garner some type of illusion of power and so-called influence. And ending up in places like Rikers Island is sad. It's a tragedy. I was once young. and I was subjected to those same types of ills. So I'm not anyone special out here. I'm not perfect. But I used my common sense, which many people say is not common, to know the difference between right and wrong. And I was one who rather preferred to live like a L7 or a square, or others would say a law-abiding citizen, because I appreciated my freedom. I appreciated embracing the chance to live the best that I can live, to provide the best that I can provide for myself and my loved ones, instead of rotting behind the jails. Let me tell you something about this situation too, right? Rikers Island and places like Rikers Island, believe it or not, people have been saved. Once they got locked up, they've been saved. Some certain individuals have said this to me personally, that being in jail and being in prison was the best thing that could have happened to them, because they chose while they were inside to make something of themselves in however way. You know, you would think it's funny. They wait to get locked up. They wait to become property of the government, whatever level, state, federal, etc. County, doesn't matter. They not pretend, but it had to take for them to be incarcerated to realize that if they were to continue behaving the way they were carrying on outside in the town, that they were going to end up in a worse situation than jail. Some people rather be locked up than outside. That's another story. But those who have decided to change their lives because they understand that being in a cage with other men living in subhuman conditions is not what a person of a sound mind, a person who has a working mind, should be doing. They decide to do what it is that they needed to do to never go back, because it's hell on earth. Anyone who's been in jail can tell you, who's been in prison can tell you, because there's a difference between jail and prison too. But I'm talking about for the purposes of this video, the message to the youth. It's about incarceration. Losing your freedom is not cool. There's nothing good about that. Not being able to eat whenever you want. Not being able to enjoy your life. Do the things that you love to do. I mean, not being able to even see your loved ones. To just even exist in the world on a natural level. Not being able to do these things is not cool. So when you're watching on social media or even in your everyday, the people you look up to, these felons, criminals, carrying on and do what it is that you want to do, and you want to look up to them, if they even had sense, they would tell you never to be them for a reason. But young people like to fall victim to the attractive nature of power, the attractive nature of obtaining money by any means, so that they could have power. It gives them this false sense of power to do what it is they have to do to gain the respect of others so that they can control their reality, so that they can be feared. Some people appreciate fear more than respect, which is another conversation for a different day. But these young people idolize some of these entertainers who profess to be gangsters, who profess to be hardcore, thug, criminals, and idolize them because they see that they have things that they wish they had for themselves, which is sad. Those who are listening and who care about this message, as far as the youth, don't follow the path of a criminal. Their options are limited. In the long term, criminals don't have retirement plans set up for themselves. In the long run, you're actually allowing yourself to live shorter by abiding by these so-called street laws. Young teens and young adults who have to do what it is that they have to do to feed their families, right? These young teens, there are young teens out here who have no choice but to commit crimes because they do have to eat. And those who are young, these young men, black teens, Hispanic, Latin teens, young people in general who have to commit crimes to feed their families. At some point, you have to understand that that is not going to last forever. Change your behavior, change your way of living, change the way you think, and you can change your life before it's too late. I'm not speaking as if what I'm saying cannot be supported or substantiated by proof. Just turn on YouTube, you'll find all the information, or get on the internet, Google, and see if what I'm saying are lies. See if what I'm saying cannot be, can be refuted. See if you could disagree. How many of these entertainers who profess to be gun-toting, big-time, thugs and gangsters, when the law enforcement ends up knocking on their door, their so-called empires are destroyed because they're going in for all types of laws that they broke: crimes, murder, rape, burglary, robbery, drug dealing, conspiracy, you name it. And you end up in places like Rikers Island. And you'll meet real gangsters, real thugs who will not see the light of day, who are possibly on the island fighting their cases. Some are sentenced, will be out in a year or under or whatever, but most of them are detained, fighting their cases. Then they'll be shipped to do their state bids or whatever elsewhere in prison, different prisons. Losing the chance to live a better quality of life. Oftentimes, those who are in there will see the young people come in, and they themselves will become infuriated because they see themselves in the young people, and they see the mistakes that these young people have done to themselves, and will try to, if they're not mentally stable or well, will inflict their wrath on the youth, and the youth won't even understand why. But then it becomes a whole nother thing. Then you'll have those who will try to steer the youth in the right direction. I'm talking about the older prisoners. I've never been incarcerated, but I have worked in the facilities, and not as a CO. I've always been a civilian and will continue to be. I'm a man of a certain age, just trying to impart some type of positivity, food for thought for the youth, so that they could get it together. The demographic I'm talking about is from 10 years old to about 25. That's the demographic I'm speaking to. Anything older than that is not really for them. It's for that impressionable core group right there, from 10 years old to 25. Very impressionable group. It could go either way for people in these groups. Men and women, young boys and girls, it could go either way. It's sad to see a person who's of that age facing charges where they could spend the rest of their lives behind bars. Kids want to be accepted. That's why they look for the for groups to get involved with. And a lot of, these organizations and street gangs and organizations are nefarious in nature, but they're looking to be a part of something to be a part of, to give them some sense of worth, a good sense of identity, self-image, allow them to have purpose, especially if they come from broken families. But then the street organizations steer them wrong, and they end up in places like Rikers Island. It is what it is. Use your mind. Think. Plan. Sometimes it's worth working hard to live longer than working quicker, trying to catch a fast buck to cut your life shorter, or to lose your freedom altogether.